Hola, bienvenidos a otra sesión de Satchel Classes. Soy Mr. Castrillón and I would like to welcome you to another session here in Satchel Classes. Today hace mucho frío. Hoy vamos a repasar vocabulario relacionado con el clima. Vamos a repasar el verbo hacer en tercera persona. Vamos a emplear diferentes verbos para hablar del clima y vamos a completar y traducir textos al inglés. Right, so we have quite a few things to do. Remember that if you're a key stage 4 year 10 or 11, you are more than welcome to join us because today's lesson is going to be really important to revise certain verbs in the past tense as well as the future tense and the present tense. And the most important thing is that these lessons are meant or designed for you to revise and to learn new things every single time. But before we start our lesson, we are going to practice our pronunciation. And today's sound is going to be the sound Z. Z. Now, this is an interesting sound for us as Spanish speakers because what happens is in Spain, the pronunciation is going to be th, th. As for instance, when you say think, that sound is the sound that you should use if you go to Spain. But if you go to South America or Latin America, you won't hear the sound. You're going to you're going to hear the sound more like s, and that is going to be interesting. So let's see the words for today. Zapato o zapato. Repeat after me. Zapato o zapato. Abrazo o abrazo. Zoológico o zoológico. Zanahoria o zanahoria. Fugaz o fugaz. So as you can see, there is a really interesting difference between these sounds. So I'm going to give you 60 minutes for you to try and work out, 60 seconds, sorry, to try and work out the meaning of these words. Off you go. And our time is up. Let's see the answers. Shoe, hug, zoo, carrot, and brief. Now keep an eye on that zanahoria or zanahoria because we use it a lot in Spanish, and of course it's a good word to remember if you want to show off your spelling skills in Spanish. Now we're going to talk about the weather, el clima. So I would like to match up these adjectives with their meanings. Here we go. Off we go. And our time is up. Let's see the answers. Frío means cold. Calor means heat. Viento, wind. Llover, to rain. Caer, to fall. I can be there is or there are. Finally, sol, sun, and niebla is fog or mist. So these are really important words that we are going to be using today. So what I would like you to do in the next exercise is really simple. I would like you to translate the sentences into English. They include the words that we have just seen, and of course, feel free to uh, look at your notes or use your dictionaries. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to try and translate those sentences into English. Off you go. And our time is up. Now, see all these sentences, they're really important to describe the weather, and they all describe the weather in simple present. So let's have a look at the translations for all of them. So we have it is cold, so that's hace frío or hace frío. It is hot, which is hace calor. It is windy, which is hace viento. It rains, llueve, so this is a verb that we are going to use today as well. It's falling snow or hail, so cae nieve or granizo. Hay niebla, which is there is fog, and hace sol, which is it is sunny. So I would like you to take a picture with your phone of the screen or screenshot it, or even better, come back to the video and take notes with pen and paper. The most important thing to remember here is that we, of course, are we going to be using this today. Let's continue. So we want to improve our sentences, and we are going to use very specific words. So say, for instance, hace frío. So I have, or we have these four expressions: mucho or mucha, demasiado, demasiada, un poco, de, y bastante. And we use this to emphasize the sentence. For instance, hace frío, hace mucho frío, which means it is very cold. So what I would like you to do is I want you to improve these sentences with one of those words in the box. Feel free to use any you want. So, for instance, if you want to say it is very windy, you know what to say. Or if it is too windy, you know which one to use. And also keep an eye on those verbs like llueve and cae and see what combinations you can come up with. Off you go. our time is up. How did that go? I'm gonna read some examples here and see what you can check what I've done in order to improve my sentences. Hace demasiado calor. Hace un poco de viento. Llueve bastante. Cae demasiada nieve. Hay mucha niebla. Hace mucho sol. As you can see, it's really straightforward to include these words to improve your sentences. They emphasize the idea that you're trying to convey in your speaking or your writing. Let's move on. Now, we are going to talk about the weather in different tenses. Now, here I have in white, hace mucho frío, which is it is very cold. But what if I wanted to speak about the past? Well, all I need to say is hizo mucho frío. And if I want to talk about the future, then I would say hará mucho frío. So keep an eye on those three different ways to conjugate the verb hacer. By the way, the conjugation is a lot bigger than this. And so this is a tiny little fraction of the things that you can do in Spanish with the verb hacer. Now, we are going to see llover. Llovió, llueve, lloverá. Cayó, cae, caerá. Hubo, hay, habrá. So as you can see, we have these different sentences that we actually use in Spanish all the time. Now, what I would like you to do is take note of those and translate as many of these sentences in English as possible. Off you go. And our time is up. How did that go? How did you find this exercise? I hope you're taking lots of notes here because all of these sentences are really helpful when you're talking in Spanish and when you're talking about the weather in Spanish. But also, they give you lots of points and marks when you're doing your speaking and your writing exercises. Also, remember that we have many more options, and this is just a tiny little fraction of things that you can do in Spanish. Right. Our GCSE challenge is really important. We need to write a paragraph describing the weather, and we are going to use all these three tenses, which are past, present, and future. We also have the different options that we can use with all of them. And although they are in white, feel free to use them in past or future as well. And also try to include one of these emphasizing words like mucho, un poco de, bastante. And basically, look at this example that I have here. Hace mucho frío. But also, why don't you try and include where and when? So, for instance, here I've got en Londres durante el invierno. That will make your sentence stand out a lot more. So, off you go and try to make the best out of this exercise. And our time is up. I hope you've done really good sentences and, of course, a good paragraph describing the weather. Today we have revised vocabulary related to the weather. We have learned verbs in past, present, and future tense that will help us to describe the weather. We have learned how to emphasize our sentences, and we have translated sentences into English and wrote a paragraph in Spanish. Well, I hope you have had a good day today, and do come back to check our videos here on Satchel Classes. In the meantime, muchos éxitos y hasta muy pronto.